everyone, I'm Katie King, founder of Integration Learning. In my 2 decades working in education, as a middle school and high school teacher, a tenured college professor, a tutor, a learning specialist, an executive functioning coach, an educational consultant, and a member of the Association of Educational Therapists, I've heard certain comments time and again from struggling students. The most common complaints I hear usually sound like one of the following. I'm dumb. I can't do this. I've never been good at this subject. Or, I'll never learn how to do this. Sometimes these morph into less noticeably damaging assertions, like, this is boring, this isn't fun, I don't want to do this. Or my personal favorite, I'm never going to use this in real life. I can imagine that as parents, you've probably heard close to all of these uttered at one time or another. And of course, as an educator, it breaks my heart to hear students say these things. For one, they're not true. In critical theory, these would be called essentialist statements because they reflect a belief that the traits students exhibit make them who they are and are often unchangeable. For example, you're bad at math. You've always been bad at math. There is no changing your math ability. The problem with this line of thinking is that there are simply too many examples in the real world showing evidence to the contrary. Ask any professional athlete, artist, or CEO if they were bad at what they did for the first several years doing it. And most of them, even the ones at the tippy top of their game, will probably tell you that they still are not often satisfied with their output. It begs a couple questions. Whose criteria for excellence are we using? And just because there is room for improvement, as there is even at the highest levels of performance, does that mean we should just give up if we don't meet some arbitrary benchmark of greatness, whether that expectation is imposed by someone else or by ourselves? Of course we shouldn't. Here's the other problem with the ways of thinking I'm talking about. Whittling anything down into an either-or mindset of good versus bad, fun versus boring, or useful versus seemingly pointless ignores the whole point of learning, which is growth and change. And I'm sure I'm not the first person to tell you that learning is the journey and not the destination. But again, the kind of negative thinking I'm talking about is not the student's fault. Our culture at every turn encourages us to think in black and white, when we all know that most of life exists in the nuance of sometimes kaleidoscopically vivid colors, and at other times, unexamined shades of gray. Certainly it doesn't help that our educational traditions compound this by favoring extrinsic rewards over the simple, joyful experience of learning for the sake of learning. The student must earn an A so she can get into such and such university, so that she can eventually land destination job X that will keep her safe in this increasingly unpredictable and stressful economy. The path I just mentioned is filled with all extrinsic motivators, all led by fear, and all incredibly stressful for the young student. Of course, then, the learner internalizes messages that reinforce a negative sense of self-worth. If they can't win in this system that thrives on manufacturing anxiety by encouraging a winner-loser mentality in all of us, then there must be something at fault with them, right? Wrong. What if I told you that the very way you and your child can game this system is through contrary action? What I mean is, instead of giving into the educational rat race and making decisions that arise out of stress and fear, what if your child had a helper, an expert who could guide them to actually enjoying the learning process instead of hating it? This is where integration comes in. Integration involves taking that which has been fractured or shattered into fragments and making it whole again, making it better than it was before. Think of us like gold in a kintsugi process, refining, repairing, using our expertise to cultivate and highlight your child's excellence. We work with the whole person, the whole family, and the whole community because that's what we're all about. Feeling whole and connected as opposed to feeling isolated and insufficient or incomplete. When students can feel respected, honored, and embraced just for being themselves, then they are capable of achieving beyond their wildest imaginations. All we want at Integration is a chance to light the way for them and for you. Thank you for watching. Be kind to yourselves.